Cairo 7 News at noon starts now.
Today, presidential candidate Joe Biden is in Kenosha. This is new video into the Cairo 7 newsroom of him arriving here, shaking hands in Wisconsin, where he met with members of Jacob Blake's family about an hour ago. While President Trump takes aim at Seattle and other cities for ongoing protests. Cairo 7's Natalie Brand with the direction of the two campaigns.
Democratic nominee Joe Biden arrived in Kenosha, Wisconsin to hold talks about the tensions that have racked that city and the country in the wake of another police shooting.
Meetings with community leaders, as well as business people and other folks in law enforcement, and to see start to talk about what has to be done.
The former vice president met privately with Jacob Blake's family, the 29-year-old black man who was shot in the back 7 times by a police officer.
I came to thank the law enforcement, the police, they're incredible.
President Trump visited law enforcement officers during his trip to Kenosha 2 days ago. Yesterday, the president threatened to withhold federal funding from cities that, quote, allow themselves to deteriorate into lawless zones. The memo specifically mentions Democratic-run cities of Seattle, Portland, New York, and Washington, D.C.
Yes, this federal government will do everything within our lawful power. And yes, the president is serious about this.
The move is expected to face legal challenges if the president follows through. With the election 2 months away, President Trump is asking his supporters to test the mail-in balloting system, suggesting they should vote twice. During a stop in North Carolina, the president told supporters that if they vote by mail, they should also vote in person.
Send it in early and then go and vote. And if it's not tabulated, you vote, and the vote is going to count. You can't let them take your vote away.
Some states do allow voters to ask for their mail-in ballot to be invalidated, but intentionally voting twice is fraud and felony in most states. Natalie Brand, Cairo 7 News.
This afternoon, we are getting local reaction to the president's plan to cut federal funding in Seattle and other cities over these ongoing protests. Governor Jay Inslee wrote online, "This illegal memorandum is a sham. It is just the latest baseless, petty, and divisive move by President Trump to distract from his abject failure to protect Americans from COVID-19. Seattle Mayor Jenny Durkan called Trump's plan unlawful.
The president is threatening to cut funding to several major American cities, including Seattle and Portland. In a White House memo, the president calls these cities, including ours, quote, anarchist jurisdictions, and has asked a team to look at restricting federal funding. Callie Greenberg investigates.
For several months, protesters have been marching with the message, defund the police. Well, now the president is out threatening to defund cities that have seen these large demonstrations, some of which have turned into riots. This includes Seattle, Portland, New York City, a host of other cities, I should mention, that are all run by Democratic leaders. Now, in the 5-page memo that was released by the White House, the president claims that these city leaders are allowing, quote, anarchy, violence, and destruction. Seattle is the first city that's actually mentioned in the memo. The president talks about the Capitol Hill organized protest zone, claiming that the local government effectively endorsed lawlessness with the CHOP's existence. So what comes next is federal agencies have been asked to come up with a plan that would restrict federal grants from going to the cities listed. In a tweet late last night, the president said, quote, my administration will do everything in its power to prevent weak mayors and lawless cities from taking federal dollars while they let anarchists harm people, burn buildings, and ruin lives and businesses. It was just a few hours later that Seattle Mayor Jenny Durkan actually retweeted that and posted a long thread on Twitter calling the president's memo a way to distract people from the more than 180,000 who have died from coronavirus. She goes on to say that the city of Seattle is going to continue addressing systemic racism, gun violence, and equality. Now, this move by the president is likely to face some kind of legal challenge. In fact, in that thread of tweets posted by Seattle Mayor Jenny Durkan, she actually called the move unlawful. But for the president, this goes in line with his message of law and order. In Seattle, Callie Greenberg, King 5 News.